To think like a grandmaster, you absolutely need to learn and master several principles that grandmasters are using to take their decisions in a real chess game. Those are the same principles that I have studied for so many years. Using those principles is the key difference between a grandmaster and an average club player, and I am ready to share it with you today completely for free because I am on a mission to help 10,000 people to reach their chess goals. What's up, chess player, and welcome to the Journey to Grandmaster, the place where you can improve every single aspect of your chess day. It's another day of my Journey to Grandmaster channel, and I have been studying this amazing book from Michael Adams, Think Like a Super Grandmaster. I like it so much because you have so many exercises where you need to solve the position and you need to evaluate the position the right way, and then you can compare your decision-making process from the decision-making process of people starting from 1500 rated level and up to Michael Adams himself, 27 plus Super Grandmaster level. So you clearly understand what you do well in chess and where you have some difficulties. So here you see the position from the book. It's black to move, and you really need to find the best move and also evaluate the position. Do you think it's better for black? Do you think it's around equal? Or do you think white is better here? I'm going to walk you through the solution and explain all of the key concepts in the process, but it would really be beneficial if you first of all take a look at it yourself, set a timer for 10 minutes, let's say, and just try to dive deep. And it's going to be very, very useful for you. You're going to improve your chess so much if you do that, so please pause the video for a second and see you later on. Okay, I hope you really took your time. If you didn't, shame on you, but you still have a chance to do it. So many people have suggested the move bishop takes f3. So they felt like the position is really better for black here, and they wanted to use it immediately with some sacrifices. So what a grandmaster first of all does once he sees the position, he is trying to evaluate it. He's trying to see what kind of weaknesses he has, his opponent has, where he's stronger, where he's weaker, and so on. So first of all, we see that black is a pawn down here. That's an important factor you can never underestimate. Secondly, we see that black has some initiative here on the king side because you have the queen, the bishop, and the rook, 3 attacking pieces, whereas white has only one defender piece, the bishop on g3. Usually, if you have 2 more pieces in the attack than your opponent has in the defense, that means you have very good attacking prospects. So a grandmaster thinks that, okay, here I might have some chances. Now it's just important for me to calculate the variations properly to find the best way to use it if there is a good way. So like I said, so many players have tried here bishop takes f3, especially low-rated guys, because, well, you just sacrificed the bishop and you want to get to the king. The idea is pretty logical. The question is, does it really work? Well, sadly, the answer is no, it doesn't work, because what is very important and what really separates a grandmaster and a club-level player is that a grandmaster really thinks a lot about his opponent's opportunities. He is not just blindly making a move, especially making a sacrifice, but he really tries to find the best moves for his opponent. It's just as important as finding the best moves for you, because otherwise you're just going for it and you're thinking, I'm so great, I'm just win the game, and then if your opponent is strong enough, he's finding those opportunities and you're in trouble. So the problem here is if you just take it back with the rook takes f3, then after queen to d2, white is able to stabilize the position. Remember, you only have the initiative, those more attacking pieces, as long as your opponent doesn't have an opportunity to bring some pieces back. Now the queen is back, there is absolutely no way to create any danger for white here. So rook takes f3 doesn't work, but what a lot of players have hoped for is queen to e3 check. The problem is again that white can just play bishop f2, just blocking the check. Now the queen is hanging, you take there, and then the queen comes back, let's say queen to d2, and then once again you don't really have a good way to continue because queen g4 check, just bishop g3 blocking it, and then pieces are going back, rook c3 is on the bay, and basically the attack is over. But now you're an entire bishop down, so that is a huge trouble, and white is basically winning here. So a grandmaster would of course calculate this variation because it's very tempting. It's one of the most active opportunities. Remember, the most active opportunities are checks, captures, and threats, and you must always start with those when you calculate your opportunities, because if you don't, then you're risking missing the best the most active ways to continue, and so you are not going to win the game when you have those opportunities, because not on every move you have it. Here, if you just make one slow move, let's say h5, a lot of players also suggested that move, and that really feels like a threat. h4 is coming, but you're given one move for white here to somehow stabilize the situation, and it's enough, because after queen to d2 you don't really have a good way to continue. Now the queen is hanging. You never ever want to exchange the queens. That is of course something a grandmaster always understands, because you're a pawn down. When you're some material down, you never want to exchange the pieces. If you want to attack, you also never exchange the pieces, especially the queens, because it limits your attacking potential hugely. So you don't have time for that. You need to find something more aggressive, something more interesting here. So another way to go on is, of course, to give a check. Like I said, checks, captures, and threats, but queen e3 doesn't really give you anything, once again, because of bishop f2. So you are not just, I say a check, I go for it, well done. No, that doesn't work like that, unfortunately, because you must always think about what's going to happen next. Never make a move without thinking what your opponent can do in a response. So queen e3 doesn't work, so there is just one capture left that is available for black, and that is the right move in the position. Rook takes f3, sacrificing the entire rook. Now, here comes the real difference between a strong player and a grandmaster. A strong player might find rook takes f3 because he feels like, okay, I have an initiative, I have to use it, I remember what are the most active opportunities. Rook takes f3 seems to be great, because if you take, that's very dangerous for white. We are going to take a look at it in a second. But a grandmaster, he really thinks for a second, okay, I am excited about the move rook f3, maybe that feels good, but what can my opponent do? What are the most dangerous opportunities? And that is where the difference lies, because a strong player just makes it, he makes sure that white cannot take, and then he makes a conclusion, evaluation of the position is much better for black. In fact, let's see what happens in this variation. Pawn takes. Now, of course, we don't have any time to take with the bishop. That's too slow. We have to continue with checks. Queen to e3 check. Now, if white tries to block it in the same way, then after queen takes f3, you're in big trouble, because queen to g2 is a checkmate threat, basically almost impossible to stop apart from king to f1. But after king to f1, there are different ways to win this game. For example, you can just play rook e8, just blocking that file, and once again, queen to g2 is, yeah, pretty much unstoppable. So that doesn't work for white. White can continue here with king to f1. Obviously, king to h1 is not a move because of queen f3 and queen g2 checkmate. So here, black takes on f3 with a check. Now, if the bishop blocks it with bishop to f2, we are back to square one, where after rook e8, black is just given a checkmate. So white can play here king to e1. And now it's time to connect more pieces into the attack. Grandmaster understands that you cannot deliver a checkmate with just one queen. You need to connect as many pieces to the attack as possible, and he always tries to find a way to do that. So he plays rook to e8 now, given another check. King to g2 doesn't work because of just rook e2 checkmate. So the only way white can continue here is bishop to e5. And now it's still not over, because if you carefully count the material, white is a whole rook up. It means either you're fighting something incredibly dangerous right now, or you're basically losing. So it's too early to finish your variation here. You don't finish your variations until the position is clear. Like, either you're given a checkmate, or you're completely winning if you're sacrificing that much material, or at least you're getting that material back. Here it's not really possible to get any material back, because everything is protected, but the white skin is still incredibly exposed, and black is taking advantage of that. Queen to e3 check. And the only way for white to continue is to play king to f1. And now there is a very tricky move. Once again, we want to connect more pieces to the attack. I mean, rook f8 works. That would be queen takes, king takes, and then queen against two rooks is relatively balanced in terms of material. But thanks to the fact that the king is still incredibly vulnerable, black should be winning. But there is an immediate win here for black, bishop to e6. Now we are creating bishop to h3 check, and there is absolutely no way to deal with it. It's just checkmate in one. The only way to stop it immediately is to play king g2, but that doesn't help because bishop is still coming, and then king goes to h1, queen f3, king goes to g1, and queen g2 checkmate. So we are back to the initial position after rook takes f3. That is the right move, the sacrifice, but the evaluation of the position, that is what matters so much, and that is the key difference. Because a strong player, he calculates the move g takes f, he sees that checkmate in the end, and he says, well, black is winning here, that is my evaluation. And a Grandmaster, he doesn't stop there, he tries to find the best moves for the opponent, and he finds this move queen to d2. That is the best strategy according to Michael Adams. If white has not enough pieces in the defense, he wants to bring more pieces there, and queen d2 is the best way to do that, because remember, in the beginning, white was a pawn up, so now the material is equal. As long as we are not taking the rook and not getting checkmated, everything is fine for white. And we are also offering the queens exchange. And remember, once the queens are getting off the board, well, that's going to be no checkmate for black. But there is basically no way to avoid that, because if you just go away with the queen, then we are going to take the rook and no checkmate would be possible. There is one try to do that with a move queen to g4. Now, white can actually take, and that is also quite a complicated variation to calculate. Let's take a look at it together. So black takes it, and now you cannot, well, like, the desirable move would be to play queen f2 and once again offer a queen's exchange, but that is not possible because queen h1 is unfortunately just a checkmate. So f2 is necessary for white to have available for the king to escape, but you still need to attack the queen, because otherwise I'm going to just play rook f8 and next move queen h1 checkmate. So rook f1 is the move for white to make. Now queen goes to h1 check, king goes to f2, and now once again we need to connect more pieces into the attack. So this rook, currently doing absolutely nothing on c8, comes into play, and rook f8 check is the move. Now you cannot really go away with the king. After king to e1, the rook is just hanging. After king to e2, well, a lot of difficulties are coming your way. For example, bishop to c4 seems to be a very good move, just giving another check, adding yet another piece to the attack. And then if rook takes, then just queen takes f1, queen takes c4, and to say the least, we are gonna have an extra exchange. But I see also after king e3, queen f3 is just a checkmate immediately. And if after bishop c4 you go away with the king, then once again at least that rook is hanging, and that would be an extra rook for black, and the king is still in trouble. That's how, by the way, Grandmaster is thinking. He is not calculating every possible variation till the very end, because it's very time consuming and energy consuming. He's calculating the variation till it's very clear. Like if after bishop to c4, king cannot go back because of the checkmate, and after king e3 we at least can take that rook, and that king is still in trouble, then we can just stop the variation there, saying that, okay, here I'm absolutely sure I'm gonna win, I don't need to calculate it till the very end. So here the right move, instead of king to e2, is bishop f4, trying to somehow block the check. And now queen takes h2, although very, very tempting here, is actually not such a great move, because king just goes to e1, we give another check, queen h4, that is a double attack, but unfortunately after rook f2, black doesn't really have a very good continuation, because suddenly all of white pieces are connected, they are defending each other, and the king is relatively secure, so that is not a way for black to continue. Instead, the right move is queen to e4, and that is more like a high-level chess, because when you're calculating the variations and you're not like a Grandmaster, then you are trying to just check, check, takes, and those rather quiet moves there are normally considered to be rather high level, but it's still creating a threat. You remember checks, captures, and threats. So that follows one of those things. It's even more complicated if it's not one of those three things, and that is still the best move. That's the most complicated situation. But here, queen to e4, the bishop is still pinned, and it's under attack. If you just take it, of course, black would be immediately winning. So there is just one way for white to save that bishop by going away with the king. If you go to g1, then basically you are completely lost. Feel free to pause the video for a second here and find the way to do that. Once again, we need to connect more pieces into the attack. And here after g5, there is absolutely nothing white can do about it, because if the bishop goes away, then just queen h1, checkmate. Otherwise, we are just winning the bishop for free. And like I said, then the compensation, I mean, we are going to be an exchange down, but the compensation would be more than sufficient. Also, yeah, so many checks are coming, like queen h1, rook takes f4, and that's absolutely crushing here. So instead of going back to g1, the right move is king to g3. And that's a little bit counterintuitive, because the king goes forward, and now once again, the same principle applies, and that is what separates a very strong player, a grandmaster, from just an average player. He always finds those new resources. He doesn't stop the variation here saying that, okay, I just have queen g6 check, but it's not enough. How can I add more pieces to the attack? Please remember this golden rule. So this rook on f8 is not really taking a huge part in the game. So there is the move rook f6 still trying to apply pressure, and it's still very, very complicated for white to find that defense, because it seems like rook g6 is just coming with a crushing, devastating effect. There is actually a move for white to save the game, that is the move h4. Now we still give a check, and there is absolutely no way for the king to hide. King to h3 leads to a just immediate checkmate, more or less. But there is a move bishop to g5, and that is very tricky. So now we take here on g5. We want to once again open up that file, and well, we are getting the bishop back. That's already very good. And after takes, unfortunately, there is nothing completely winning for black. It's still an equal position with the right play. The nice way to do that is to play rook takes g5. Queen has to take, otherwise that would be a checkmate, and now queen to g2. That is basically a perpetual, because either you go here to h4, and then we have queen h2 check, king to g4, we just continue with queen to g2. So either the position repeats itself, or the king has to go to f4, but once again we have another check with queen to e4, and it has to go back to g3. That's a perpetual check. So that is a draw in the end of the day, but to reach that draw, white should have found all of the right moves here, which is not that simple at all. Big thank you for the sponsor of this video, the Chestnut company. I'm using here the Chestnut Evo, their newest product, which is very convenient for the purposes of the analysis, because you see here all of the indicators. I can just shuffle the pieces around and then get back very, very easily. I also have the screen here so that you can see the position as well. So if you are interested in buying one of their products, the link would be in the description. You are gonna get a huge discount using the promo code Journey to Grandmaster, or just the link in the description. So queen to g4 is an interesting try here. As you see, that's objectively a draw, but still there are some difficulties for white. If you don't want to go for that and you still want to continue the game as black, you should play the move rook e3. That is basically another way to avoid the queen's exchange. But well, white can insist on that and play the move rook to c3, because once again, the more pieces you exchange, the simpler it gets for white to eliminate all of the pressure. Well, we can defend it with the rook here, then rook takes e3. And there are a few ways after rook takes e3, you're still not really escaping all of the exchanges because of king f2, and then everything would be hanging. So there is a practical chance with queen takes e3, go in for this endgame. But the problem is now it's going to be an opposite colors bishop's endgame, and even though with the queens that could be a huge advantage, without the queens it's a very, very high chance to make a draw for the side who is weaker, which is white, of course, because of the much weaker pawn structure. So for example, king goes to f2, rook goes to b3, rook d2 to protect that, and black can even improve their pawn structure here with the move b4. White takes, rook takes. So white still has to suffer in this position due to those weaknesses, d4 and b2, but thanks to opposite colors bishops, the chances for a draw are pretty high. So that is how Grandmaster thinks in chess. First of all, he evaluates the positions. He sees what is strong on his side, like having more pieces in terms of attack, or for example, having the opposite colors bishops. So many players, especially low-rated, are underestimating this fact. In the endgame, yes, it is a very good indicator of a draw coming, but with the queens on the board, especially if you're attacking, having opposite colors bishops can help you hugely, because the dark squares bishop has absolutely nothing to do with your light squares bishop, and when you're attacking, that's very good to use to attack on the light squares. Once a Grandmaster understands what is strong in his position and that he has the initiative, but he must use it right now, he starts calculating those variations, he starts considering those very, very active options, starting with checks, captures, and threats, and then he makes the right choice because in the end of the day he sees that bishop takes f3 is not good enough. Unfortunately, it doesn't lead to anything dangerous, whereas rook takes f3 really works, but he also looks for his opponent's opportunities. He is not too excited about rook takes f3, gf, and queen e3, thinks that, well, I'm just winning, that's game over. He sees that white also has very interesting opportunities like queen to d2, bringing pieces back, understanding that's the best strategy for white here to proceed. And then the position is maybe a little bit better for black. For example, Michael Adams said here that it's minus 0.4 for black. Let me know in the comments what was your evaluation of the position, but he understands that, well, the chance of a draw in the endgame with opposite colors bishops is pretty high if both sides are playing strong. Now, to apply the principles you have just learned, you need to solve this position. It's white to move, but remember please to think not only about your moves, but also how your opponent can respond. That is very, very important, and feel free to suggest your solution in the comments. Now, as a thank you for watching this video up to this point, I want to make you a special offer. There is a huge sale for my 10-day opening master course where you can build an entire and holistic opening repertoire both for white and black at the price of just a single opening course. In addition to that, I also want to offer you a completely free lesson with me that is available for the first 5 people that are going to purchase the course from this video, only for the viewers of this video specifically. So please, once you make the purchase, just write me an email or a message in social media, whenever you can find me. Just let me know that you have bought the course from this video and you are going to get your free lesson. Make sure to do it fast, of course, because it's only available for the first 5 people who take advantage of that. Now, the question is how you apply these principles we have just learned in a real practical game. In this video, I show you how I do that playing against a 2600 rated Stockfish, and that is a fantastic game. You're gonna learn so much and be able to really apply those principles in your own games.